So I normally, why my mouse is not working? Okay, now it's working. Um, Normally, like I listen to these audios. I take them from like where can okay, my phone is now super slow. It's almost like dying doing the tasks. Need this. Okay, okay, later it's super slow. So I like to listen to Islamic lectures on audios, etc. Yes. And to be honest, today so yeah, I like to listen to these videos, these lectures. I download them from this website. Oh my phone is not working. No. Okay, I guess I don't need to show you the website. So I really like to listen to the lectures of Noman Ali Khan, and today, to be honest, I was listening this one and I really loved it. Where one is this one?
This audio is brought to you by Muslim Central. Please consider donating to help cover.
I have a drawing like pending for me. I don't know really. I don't know what am I doing. So don't watch these videos of mine. I'm just practicing for myself. Yes. Okay. What am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? Okay, I guess I'm doing nothing.
This audio is brought to you by Muslim Central.
There is video available in YouTube of all of these audios, so I can just find the videos in here by searching this. It's really great watching those videos. But to be honest, there is not that much of difference between seeing these videos and watching these audios, because these are mostly lectures, voice lectures. That's why they are like kind of similar.
Reflection. And the beauty of the Quran is when you study a single ayah and you ponder over a single ayah and you look at our incredible...
But watching videos is more interesting than listening to audios, but because they like you can see the hand gestures and see the lecturer sees how he reacts and everything. So that's why watching the videos is great, but I don't want to open split screen and do my work. Oh yeah, I have a work pending, like I have a drawing to do pending, and it's this one, but I guess like it looks creepy. I will remove this eyes because making like cartoon characters or transforming humans into other forms, or like making anything living type of, they are kind of haram in Islam, and To be honest, that's everyone's personal choice. So my personal choice is I won't add the eyes here. So I'll remove them, and I guess I will listen to this while I'm. Oh, man, really, I'm struggling to explain myself in English. I listened this today and I read it up that once, and I want to remember it. Like, this one is very great for like any kind of when I'm sad or like depressed or anything. Yeah, this one is really great for that times. So, and I want to remember the things that we said in the lecture, so I will listen it again.
Please consider donating to help cover our.
Listen it again while doing my drawing, I guess. And I really like to like see all listen all the audios in 1.6 x speed, I guess. So yeah, I don't like to listen audios in the normal speed because I kinda think they are too slow, and I'm kinda used to increasing speed of any videos or audios. So it's kind of boring for me to listen to or watch any audios or videos in normal speed. So yeah, I will increase the speed and I will
Running course
listen
and future.
and I will draw my work. Okay, that's it, I guess.
Tips by visiting W.
To be honest, I don't know if I should keep my video or not. Should I keep it? Okay. I can keep it. Okay, let's keep it, and now listen to this one.
www.muslimcentral.com/donate.
And now I will try to color the drawing. Okay. I need blue. I need white on it. I don't know. So I need. To be honest, I'm bad at watercolors. I'm really bad at watercolors. I always mess them up. That's why I'm now trying to kind of be careful for this one.
Reflection. And the beauty of the Quran is when you study a single ayah and you ponder over a single ayah and you look at our incredible tradition of so many scholars that poured over every single ayah, you could literally do a PhD thesis on one ayah. You could, even if you just collected what's been said and didn't do any thinking of your own, you just copied what's been said before you, those would be thousands of pages on one ayah, right? But that doesn't take away from the fact that we're in fact reading a book, and in a book there's continuity, right? And when you focus on one thing and you talk exhaustively about one thing, that one ayah or that one statement, it kind of like, it becomes a chapter. And when you're in a chapter, you lose sight of the fact that there was something before it and there's something after it and there's a kind of continuity. To make this easier to understand this challenge, you can think of it like if you're in a helicopter or you're on top of, forget helicopter, you're on top of a mountain and you see a field of flowers, of all different color flowers. You see the entire picture, it's a beautiful scene, right? And you're a good photographer, you take a picture of this scene, right? Then you go descend into the valley and you kind of focus your camera in on like a single flower and actually the very center of the flower and a petal from within that flower, and you take a color of how marvelous the texture and the color is of that. Now both of these things have their own beauty, right? But in one picture you kind of see the beauty of the entire landscape. And in another, you're zooming in on the beauty of this one little piece. But they both have not only an advantage, but also a disadvantage. On the one hand, when you focus in on one thing, what happens? You lose sight of the whole thing. You don't realize where you are. That becomes a world by itself. And if you look at the whole thing, you do get a big picture, but you lose sight of the beautiful, small details. So the study of the Quran is actually a challenge in many ways, because on the one hand, we want to focus on every little detail, right? Everything okay? Okay. So you want to focus on every little detail. But at the same time, there's a beauty in the landscape. There's a beauty in, how the kalam, how the speech of Allah is flowing. So I want to start today, inshallah, with just a little bit of an overview and something I didn't highlight before of where we are. We are now entering, and I started it yesterday without formally announcing it. We entered into the story of creation. We entered into the story of Adam alayhi salam. And the story of, how Allah Azza wa Jalla made the announcement to the angels that He's going to put someone on the earth, a Khalifa on the earth. We got into that discussion. But what led us to that discussion? You had the first passage about believers. I think everybody here remembers that. I emphasized that quite a bit. The second passage was about disbelievers along with the hypocrites. Now اعبدوا ربكم. This is ayah number 21 onwards. Right? The story of Adam alayhi salam is ayah number 30. So what's happening from 21 to 30? There's a proclamation made to all of humanity that they should worship their master. And why should they, and what's the call that Allah made? You should be a abid of Allah. You should become enslaved and worship Allah willingly because He's the one who made you and made the ones who came much before you, right? And then He said another thing in addition. He said He's the same one who made the earth as a bedding for you. الذي جعل لكم الأرض فراشا والسماء, and He put the sky above you as a canopy, and He put it above you as a construct, right? And then He sent water from the sky. All of that was in the beginning. You'll notice at the end of this passage, it's exactly those concepts that are repeated. First Allah says, how could you disbelieve? You used to be dead. You remember that? And He brought you to life. But the question was, how could you disbelieve? So the passage began, worship Allah, and it ends, how could you disbelieve? The passage began, Allah said, worship the one who made you and the ones who and He made the ones who came much before you. And then at the end He says, look, all of you were dead, and He brought all of you back to life. It's actually the same subject repeating itself. And then in the beginning He said He made the earth. And then He said He made the sky as a roof over you. And by the end He says, وَالَّذِي خَلَقَ لَكُم مَا فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا ثُمَّ اسْتَوَى إِلَى السَّمَاءِ فَسَوَّاهُنَّ سَبْعَ سَمَاوَاتٍ وَهُوَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٌ. So where that passage began is actually where it's also ending. It's reviewing everything. And it, by the way, started with the story of human beings being created, and it ends with the story of human beings being created. It starts with the skies and the earth, and it ends with the skies and the earth. The next subject matter in that previous chunk, that 21 to 30 chunk that we were studying, Allah Azza wa Jalla talked about how people disparage, or they don't appreciate, or they tend to undermine the revelation of Allah. And Allah challenged humanity and said, look, if you don't think this is revelation, why don't you do what? What was the challenge of the issue? Why don't you make a surah? Why don't you make one for yourself? You know? And call any witnesses you want. Let's see what you can do. On the flip side of it, He said, well, if you can't make a surah, all you do is make complaints about why does the Quran have this example, why does it have that example? You know? And so on both sides, you have people trying to disparage or undermine the word of Allah. But what fascinates me the most about this cluster of ayat, it's symmetrical, right? The beginning and the end match. The second concept and the second last concept match. But what really gets to me is what is in the middle. And that's the reason I brought this up. What is in the middle is وَبَشِّرِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ أَنَّ لَهُمْ جَنَّاتٍ تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِهَا الْأَنْهَارُ كُلَّمَا رُزِقُوا مِنْهَا مِنْ ثَمَرَةٍ رِزْقًا قَالُوا هَذَا الَّذِي رُزِقْنَا مِنْ قَبْلُ وَأُتُوا بِهِ مُتَشَابِهًا وَلَهُمْ فِيهَا أَزْوَاجٌ مُطَهَّرَةٌ وَهُمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ. That's the middle ayah of that entire series of ayat. What is that middle ayah? Congratulate believers and those who've done good deeds, that they're going to have gardens, the bottoms of which rivers are going to be flowing. Remember the discussion we had about Jannah? You guys had too much fun that night? We talked about Jannah? That ayah of Jannah is right in the middle. Now think about this for a second. It is in the middle. In the beginning of that passage, there's the creation of the skies and the earth and the human beings. At the end of that passage is the creation of the skies and the earth and the human beings. And in the heart of that passage is what? Congratulate believers that what is waiting for them? Jannah is waiting for them. This is beautiful because this is that center of the passage is actually the heart of the matter. Why is Allah telling you all of this? Why is He challenging you to accept guidance? Why is He reminding you He's the one who made you and you used to be in His company? Because He wants you back where you used to be. Where? In Jannah. And so in this next passage, we come back to the heart of the matter and we begin with the story of Adam alayhi salam. And Adam alayhi salam's story begins where? It begins in Jannah. And notice also the description that Allah made of Jannah in that ayah, in that central ayah of the previous passage. What was it? What were some elements of that story? Allah Azza wa Jalla said, okay, gardens and rivers flowing, and then Allah specifically highlighted they're going to have any kind of fruit they want. Yeah? كُلَّمَا رُزِقُوا مِنْهَا مِنْ ثَمَرَةٍ رِزْقًا. And I think everybody here knows what I'm about to get at. When you study the story of Adam alayhi salam, what's the sticking point? Where does the trouble begin? With a tree and a fruit. With a tree and a fruit. And now Allah is actually already alluding to the fact that when I send you back, even that tree is going to be halal. Even that. Even every single one. ثَمَرَةٍ for the mufrad, right? This is Masdar Marra, it's called even the Tamarbuta lil Marra, for a single instant of a fruit. But now, when it started, there was that one single fruit. As a matter of fact, that tree even don't go near it. So there's a reference to that. Then Allah added, they're going to have spouses that are purified for them. And you'll find what? In the story of Adam alayhi salam. Uskun anta wa zawjuka. Azwaj mutahhara. The first zawj was mutahhara. And that's actually a very important reference from which we're going to begin. So the first thing I wanted to give you is kind of how beautifully the ayat of the Quran and the passages of the Quran mentally prepare the believer for what's coming. If you ponder over them, there's a beautiful flow. There's an absolutely fascinating flow to the word of Allah. Now let's talk, in today's conversation, inshallah, I wanted to set the tone for the story of Adam alayhi salam. I'll tell you certain elements of the story today. Maybe we won't get to too many ayat, but if I can give you that foundational thought process, then inshallah when we do get into the text, you'll appreciate it entirely differently. So today is really an educational, a teaching session for the purpose of, understanding the ayat that are coming, okay? So the first thing I want to start with is, this is the most known story in human history. Like the story of creation from the Jewish people and of course by the majority population of the world, the Christian people, is one of the most popular stories in history. Everybody knows the story of creation. As a matter of fact, I've met many Muslim kids around the world, around the country and around the world, whose concept of the story of creation is influenced by Christian and Jewish ideas. Like they don't actually know the Quran or Islamic account, they figure it's all probably the same. So they imagine Adam and Eve wearing some kind of lion skin or something in a garden, and they're not entirely appropriately dressed, and there's a tree, it's probably an apple, or something, and there's the devil takes what form? A snake, a serpent. This is all from Jewish and Christian tradition. There's no serpent in the Quran. There's no snake in the Quran. There's no this kind of clothing that's described of animal skin or anything like that. No such description exists. But this imagery has been made so popular that it's even entered subconsciously in the minds of even Muslims. But let's not go there for a second. Let's understand some basic elements of the story as the world knows it. The Quran came along and told the story in a way that the world did not know. The world had forgotten. The story as it was popular even at the time of the revelation of the Quran, some elements of it you need to understand. And they're still alive and well today. Most people don't know the Quran version, most people know the popular version of the story. God creates humanity, and by the way, even I told you, when He asked the angels, should I create man? That's actually not part of the popular literature. That's extra biblical text. So most people didn't even know that part. God just decides to create the human being, and He puts him in heaven, and the devil takes the form of a serpent, and the serpent goes, and man was lonely, so God took his man's rib, and He molded it, and He turned it into Eve, and they were living in heaven happily, and the serpent was very jealous of them, and he went to snake, the devil went, and he convinced the woman, Eve, he convinced her that she should eat from that tree. And that tree, they call it the tree of good and evil, the knowledge of good and evil. And actually God is very angry at them from the very beginning. Don't you dare go near that tree, because that is actually, if they eat from this tree, they'll become like gods. The concept was, if they eat from that tree, they'll become divine beings. And gods doesn't mean aliha. In old language, gods even means angel-like beings. So they'll become heavenly creatures. And God didn't want that. He didn't want that goodness for Adam and Eve, so he wanted to keep them away from that tree. Some account...
Like, to be honest, I was like fully shocked when I hear that, like, you will be like, God, if you eat from the tree. As a Bangladeshi of here, we don't have that much Christian over here, so like we didn't heard that Christian kind of stories there. So I was really shocked that they are thinking like that. Like really, having a fruit and having the knowledge of God or something like that power. Yeah, that was kind of surprising for me. And I really told that this is good for my when I'm depressed or something, because this lecture tells about why we were here in this world and what was the main purpose, really purpose by God, what was the real purpose. Like really, 1,000 people from this world can say 1,000 different things as a reason of living, as a purpose of living, but for me, I believe in Quran. So people convincing me, or people, I don't know how to say that, like telling you certain things that might feel you good when you are sad or depressed or etc. Like listening from them words, or thinking about why I was really here at the first time. Like when I'm depressed, I have thoughts like, why am I even living? This world is really hard. Should I live or not? Can I suicide? All that kind of stuff. So that's why a reminder of my purpose and reason behind living in this earth is really great when I'm sad or kinda like that. That's why I said this one will be great for me when I'm sad or like that. So yeah, that's it. Okay, the notification has gone. So I need to
even say that God had like a guardian angel with a fiery sword standing by the tree so nobody would come near that tree. Like they had this a very protective situation in the biblical account about the tree, right? And don't go near it. And the serpent comes, and he doesn't come to both of them. Who does he come to? He comes to Eve, and he tells her, you need to eat from this tree, because if you have this tree, if you eat from this tree of the knowledge of good and evil, then you're going to have eternal life. That's what you need to do. You need to convince, and then she goes, and she convinces Adam. And Adam then makes the decision and goes and eats. And of course then he blames her, and she blames the devil. Nobody takes responsibility for themselves. That's the account. Actually, the biblical account is Adam blamed the woman. He blamed Eve. And Eve blamed the devil. And now there's another additional part. When they did eat from the tree, God is extremely angry. Allah is extremely angry at them. And he, basically, it's a moment of rage in the biblical account. And he, as a punishment, sends them where? To the earth. This is a punishment for you. You are cursed now because of this crime that you have committed. And he particularly comes after the woman. Like there's like this extra anger at the woman, because at the end of the day, the devil didn't go to Adam. The devil went to Eve. And Eve went to Adam. So she seduced him to do wrong. Right? So he has extra anger at her and says, for what you have done, you will bleed every month, and you're going to cry when you give birth, and you're going to suffer, and man shall have kingdom or power over you. Man will be in charge of you. And like these are the punishments specifically, and the curse is specifically for the female as humanity is brought to this earth. And from then on, they are now going to be born into sin. The humanity is going to pay the price of the sin of Adam. Right? And so this world is basically a cursed situation for humanity. The Quran, when it speaks of this account, by the way, if you accept that account, the Christians and the Jews from there on, what they do with the story is interesting. Of course, there are lots of denominations of Christians and Jews, but just generalizing, the Christian account is, well, human beings were born into sin, we were cursed, and of course Jesus came, and through his blood we're all saved. He sacrificed for the sins of humanity, the sins we could never have paid for, the sins that started with who? Our Father, right? Quran comes along, and from the very beginning it starts shattering this notion. And it starts, like the way Allah tells the story, especially in Baqarah, is so unique. Every piece of it is so unique that I'm going to do a few things. My goal is a few things today. In the beginning, I'm going to tell you a crazy story that has nothing to do with this. Then I'll tell you another crazy story that has nothing to do with this, but they both have something to do with it by the end. Okay? That's my goal. Okay? So The first crazy story is something I made up. This is entirely my own concoction. It is my own deviation. If you can appreciate it, you can. If not, because I think everybody here basically kind of sort of knows what happened, right? Adam alayhi salam and Hawa were in Jannah. Shaitan whispered. They ate from the tree. They were expelled. That's the basic elements of the story. Everybody here is familiar with. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a story. And this is again my own invention. It's horrible. You have somebody who got a job at a company.
Wait a minute, yeah. So I was wanting to tell like that. I was fully shocked, astonished, or anything word you can say. Like I never could have imagined in my dream also like that. Christians or they will have such kind of interpretation of that. Like God is angry at girls or women. That's why they go through period and pain and etc. Like really um this kind of racist or kind of like I guess inequality. Oh man, my words are like inequality. Why I can pronounce that word inequality or something like I guess that word is the pronunciation is. So like I was fully shocked. How can like they put women in such bad place in like like women are born cursed by the god from the time they are born and etc. Like really I was very shocked. I don't know how to explain that in English. I don't know how to express my feelings in English, so that's why I can just say that I was mainly shocked just hearing these informations.
He got a job as mid-level. And he started working very hard, impressed his manager. Eventually he was made into manager after a couple of years. After that he was made into regional manager. Then he was made into like the manager for sales or head of sales for the entire United States. And then he was granted even US and Europe. And he just keeps moving up 20, 30 years of service in this company. And this guy keeps getting promoted, right? Eventually he's the VP of the company. This guy, after 35 years of serving in this company, moving up, proving himself, is now the VP. There's only one position higher than VP, which is what? The owner of the company, the president of the company. Okay, so he's the right-hand man. And they have a headquarters, which is like this tall skyscraper office, and he's got like one of the best offices on the top floor, right next to the president's office, the CEO's office. That's the VP's office. He enjoys his position there, right? And he's been serving there. Everybody shows him respect. People stand when he walks by and things like that. And then one day, the president of the company, the CEO, walks in with a 16-year-old teenager who's chewing gum and looking around, and he says, "Hey, I'd like to introduce you to our new VP. And if you could just get off that chair, because that's his chair now. And I think he likes chocolate milk, so if you could get him some from downstairs in the cafeteria, that'd be good too." The president walks in, tells his VP that the 16-year-old kid is now the VP, and he needs to be at the service of this new hire, right? If you are even like a secretary in the office and you're on the side like typing away, you'll stop typing for a second. You're like, what just happened? And you're gonna want to hear what happens next. Now, if I don't even tell you what happens next in the story, can you imagine what would happen next? Can you imagine the kind of reaction? There would be an abrupt eruption, a volcanic eruption coming from who? The VP. Like, what? Who's he? What are his qualifications? Do you know what I've done for this company? Do you know how much time I put in? You know how much I gave up, like, my family for this company? I gave up my life, I gave my sweat, blood, and tears for it, and you're gonna just put me away? Who is he? What is he? What degree does he have? Does he even know how to spell? You're gonna put him in my place? There's this, like, eruption. And anybody watching, if this was a movie directed by myself, produced by myself, my intention would actually be to make you feel bad for who? You'd all sympathize with the VP. Like, that's not right. That isn't cool, But I'm not talking about a VP. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Iblis. I mean, he was in the service of Allah, and he is a jinn. And despite being a jinn, being promoted so much that Allah would put him in the rank of the angels, he's proven himself, obviously. And then for Allah to create something made of dirt, and then tell him, by the way, thank you, he's taking your place. He's the one to be promoted to Khalifa of the earth. He flips out, and we're like, astaghfirullah, shaitan, iblis. If this was a story about a VP, we'd be like, yeah, man, that ain't cool. I sympathize with the guy. Now, that's one side of the story. Let's hold it there. Because I wanted you to sympathize with the VP. I know it's disturbing that you might sympathize with the devil. Hold on, hold your thoughts. But you need to understand what's happening in the story from a thematic point of view. It's very powerful. Now I'll tell you another story. Yet another story is, you work at a company, and you're doing a good job. You seem to be doing okay. And your boss sends an email to the entire department. The only one he doesn't send an email to is who? You. And the email says that we're going to transfer Abdullah next week to New Jersey. The New Jersey office. It's a punishment. I think he's better suited not for Texas, he's suited for New Jersey. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Everybody knows he's about to be transferred. The only one who doesn't know is friends who got the email. Says, listen, I know you didn't get the email. Can I show you what happened? They're going to transfer you. They're going to transfer you. The next day, Abdullah comes 10 minutes late. He's upset anyway. He comes 10 minutes late to the office. Boss calls him into the office. Boss says to him, you were 10 minutes late. I don't think you're suited for Texas. I think we need to transfer you to New Jersey. Abdullah says, what are you talking about? You had already decided that you're going to send me where? To New Jersey. Out of Jannah. I mean Texas. You're gonna send me out of here. You already issued the memo. You're not sending me there because I messed up or I came 10 minutes late. That was always part of your plan. This whole drama about, oh, you messed up and that's why I'm sending you down, please. I have a copy of the email. My friend gave it to me. In other words, this was all pre-planned, wasn't it? And it's not because I messed up. I'm not really talking about Abdullah in New Jersey. What am I talking about? Adam alayhi salam. Allah Azza wa Jalla, the first thing we learn is, Inni ja'ilun fil jannati khalifa. Inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa. I'm going to put someone left behind, someone who's going to have children after children after children, someone who shall take responsibility where? On the earth. He hasn't eaten from any tree yet. He hasn't done anything yet. And yet the plan is, and all the angels know, he's supposed to go where? On the earth. Now, this portion of the Quran in Baqarah is not the portion where you find out the conversation between Adam and Iblis. You don't find this conversation here. You find that conversation in Surah Al-A'raf and other places. There, Iblis comes to him and says, listen, you know that whole tree thing? Let me tell you what's going on. If you ate from that tree, it's impossible to transfer you to New Jersey. You would get permanent residence in Texas. That's why he doesn't want you to eat from the tree, because everybody knows that you've been actually, the orders for your transfer have already been issued. You are about to go where? To the earth. And you're like, is earth like Jannah? No, it's not like this. This is Jannah. The only people who get to stay here are angels or permanent residents. There's only two kinds of people that can stay up here. Angels or permanent. أن تكون ملكين أو تكون من الخالدين. Either you both convert to angels, or you both become permanent residents, and the only way to do that is to eat from that tree. Because otherwise, look, the decision has been made. Final, you are sent, you're in the Jahannam for the Khalifa, it's done. That's commonly known. Now, even though Adam alayhi salam eats from the tree, and Allah Azza wa Jalla apparently says, now as consequence of your eating from the tree, you must go down to the earth. Couldn't he turn around and say, excuse me? What about inni ja'ilun fil ardi? Iblis came and told me you were going to send me anyway. You're not sending me because of the tree. You're sent, because I ate from the fruit. I knew I was going to get sent anyway. Why is that question important? The question is important because until this day, the oldest question in philosophy, and the oldest question in the mind of anyone who has a crisis of faith, is if Allah knows already what I'm going to do, and where I'm going to end up, why should I be held responsible? The question of predestination is something that's asked for centuries upon centuries upon centuries. If Allah already knows, how is it my fault? If Allah already planned everything, why should I be held responsible? And the first man to exist, the first human being, actually had the opportunity to ask the oldest question in philosophy. Because he was put in that position. It was predestined that he will come on the earth. Now I've presented you two very precarious situations. You've got the story of Iblis, who is being demoted apparently unfairly, and you've got the story of Adam, who actually is going to be transferred no matter what. He's going to be sent anyway. And then they're both, by the way, both of them, they have a lot in common. This is the next thing I want you to understand. Adam alayhi salam and Iblis have a lot in common. Iblis was ranked above the angels. He was given superiority. He was given a superior position. Was Adam alayhi salam given a rank above the angels? Yeah, usjudu li Adam. He was given a superior position. Iblis was given this honor. Adam was given this honor. Iblis ended up disobeying Allah. Adam also disobeyed Allah. Iblis actually disobeyed Allah that one time. Adam alayhi salam also disobeys Allah that one time. Now, they're also both sent to the earth. And by the way, both of them had logical explanations. They could have had logical explanations for disobedience. Why am I saying that? I compared Iblis to the VP, remember? Does the VP have a logical complaint? Does he have a logical complaint? Yeah. If Adam alayhi salam is being sent to the earth, he can also make a logical complaint. Look, you were going to send me down anyway. He can make a logical complaint. So now what they have in common thus far is both of them are in a position to challenge the decision of God with a logical complaint. They have that in common. Where do the differences begin? The differences begin with one of them saying, here is my logical complaint, here's why your command makes no sense. And the other one says, logic or not, whether I think it's fair or not, I know one thing that trumps my own thinking. I know you're never unfair. And if there's ever been any wrong, it can only be my own, no matter how convinced my mind is, or how convincing Iblis is to me that you're the one unfair. I can never get myself to blame you. Even if I've done wrong, and it seems it's your fault, I will say what? I must blame myself. The difference over here is فَبِمَا أَغْوَيْتَنِي. You're the one who made me slip, Iblis says. And here he says, رَبَّنَا ظَلَمْنَا أَنفُسَنَا. Master, we wronged ourselves. They both make a mistake. Making a mistake does not make you the devil. It is what happens after the mistake that makes you a follower of shaitan. When you justify your mistake, when you shift the blame onto Allah, when you refuse to take responsibility yourself, when you put your logic above the wisdom of Allah simply because you couldn't grasp it, because Allah will test you, Allah will teach you, but at the end of the day, وَاللَّهُ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٌ وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. Allah knows everything, and then the story of Adam, because there are things in the story you just don't know. You just don't know why Allah would issue that command, and then the entire plan. There are things you'll have to relegate your trust to Allah. And if you're not able to do that, then the door of Iblis is wide open. You can question Allah just like he did, and you can follow his path. From here on, all children of Adam are going to make mistakes. كُلُّ بَنِي آدَمَ خَطَّاءٌ. All children of Adam are going to make mistakes, the Prophet told us, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But there's the sunnah of Adam.
Okay, I paused the video because my mom came and kinda talked to me. So how much charge do I left? Okay, 48%. The screen was on and had a decent brightness. That's why my charge dropped. Okay, this is half away.
Alayhi salam, and the sunnah of Iblis is what's going to make us different. Every human being is going to relive the story.
My mom is coming into the video. Okay, I guess. Okay, lol. Emu calls. I should stop doing that. Where is emo? Oh, yeah. 4 stop or else this will disturb me a lot. Oh, that I wish. Someone is I don't know what am I doing. I don't know what. Okay, my brother is shouting right now, so I will turn off the video for today. And I'll resume this one from here tomorrow or something, I guess. But let's see.
Time to make a mistake. Every time you and I sin, there's going to be either justification. Well, I was under a lot of pressure. Well, I know it's really hard. Allah tells us to do it. Yeah, but we're not angels. We can't do everything, you know. I mean, if Allah really wanted to stop me, why didn't He? Why did He make me so weak that I can't even help myself? It's not my fault. It's His fault. If Allah already knew, then why should I be? And all these questions. If you go down that road, what leader have you already accepted? He's giving you the same rationale that he used, that he tried to convince Adam of, alayhi salam. But on the other hand is the flip side of the story. Now let's compare some additional things. I haven't told you the crazy story yet. Actually, I just recently came across it, and it's so beautiful. I recommend everybody to find it on YouTube and watch it. It's a Professor Jeffrey Lang's lecture on the purpose of life. Look it up and just listen to it. It will change your life. It really will. Professor Jeffrey Lang, Purpose of Life. And I'll tell you a snippet of his story now too. But before I do, in this story, when Allah Azza wa Jalla describes, Inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa, what we are learning first and foremost is that our coming on this earth is not a punishment. You remember I gave you the example of
Professor Jeffrey and Professor Jeffrey to be honest, at first when I watched the audio, I was outside of my house and I didn't have internet. That's why I didn't search up the video that he was talking about. Professor Jeffrey Lang, yes, he said that. How to spell it? Like P F E double S O R J double F. Oh, it's in solutions. Then that may be a popular person or something. Come on, lol net. Lol internet, my internet, okay. My mouse and keyboard connection has just moved around. Wow. Okay, they are back now. Come on, okay, my internet is really bad, so I will just continue the video.
Manager trusted to man the store when the owner is gone. Is that a punishment or a responsibility? Human beings have been deemed capable of carrying a massive responsibility. And as a matter of fact, in the sequence of the story, the human being had to be trained to be ready for that responsibility. The responsibility to carry out the role of Khalifa on this earth is not a small responsibility. It is a massive, massive, massive responsibility. In order to prepare the human being for that responsibility, some elements of this story will inform us. Allah Azza wa Jalla taught Adam alayhi salam. Allama Adam al-asma'a kullaha. We'll talk about that in depth tomorrow, inshallah. Adam alayhi salam was taught the names of all things. And education was necessary because the human being, in order to be a successful Khalifa on this earth, will have to live a life of knowledge. And Allah, the first thing Allah tells us about His favor on humanity in the first revelation is Allama al-insana bil-qalam. He taught the human being by the pen, our ability to read and write and preserve knowledge. The fact that I can read an author from 2,000 years ago who died. What other creature has the capability of building off of a knowledge of thousands of years ago? Or read about lands that you've never been to, and learn about wisdom that you could never have access to. There are people, like I'm reading Tafsir of Imam Razi, or I'm reading Ibn Ashur. I've never met these people. I wasn't around when they were around, and I'm reading their words, and sometimes, wallahi al-azim, sometimes I'm reading them, and I'm like, Imam Razi, that was awesome. Like they're sitting right there. Because you get so immersed in the text like they're talking to you. I was studying Tafsir al-Sha'rawi, rahimahullah. He passed away after doing the Tafsir of Surah al-Najm, 53rd Surah of Quran. And I'm reading, I followed his Tafsir from the beginning. And I got to Surah al-Najm, and then there's just a dua of his passing. I'm like, oh, like he just passed away. When I got to that ayah, I felt like he just passed away. Rahimahullah. This is the gift Allah gave humanity, that they can pass knowledge down. You know, this idea, this was part of our preparation for coming on this earth. Another big part of our preparation, there are lots of elements of them as we get to them by the end of today. One of the aspects of us being ready for this world is that we're going to have to take responsibility for our choices. We're going to be given lots of choices, and Allah's going to give us the room to make those choices, and we're going to have to carry the burden of those choices. And the first test of choice was given to Adam alayhi salam, and now that he learned his lesson from that experience, now he is sent on this earth, because now his entire life is just going to be a series of choices. That's all it's going to be. From him and for his children, it's constantly going to be choices. Now let's compare the biblical account and the Quranic account, and where it's so vividly different. Human beings in the biblical account, in the most popular version of the story, are sent on this earth as a punishment. The Quran's account, the human beings are sent on this earth as a responsibility, as an amana, a trust in the arud al-amana. We passed on the trust. We entrust in Surah Al-Ahzab. Hamadaha al-insan. The human being carried that trust,
Okay, I'll pause the video because my brother...
Who did the devil come to? He came to Eve, and Eve went to Adam, and Adam messed up, and Adam blamed Eve, and Eve blamed the devil, and Allah's angry at all of them, and he curses them and sends them to the earth, and he's especially angry at who? He's especially angry at the woman. And his anger is manifest in the fact that she will go through pains when she does what? When she gives birth. Now, when she's pregnant, her stomach is actually called a raham. In Arabic, her stomach is called a raham. And the Prophet ﷺ would tell us in the Hadith Qudsi, Sammaytuka bismi. Allah talked to the womb of the mother and said, I named you with my name. Because Allah's name is Ar-Rahman. And he calls it what? Ar-Raham. Subhanallah, is Allah angry at the woman or extra merciful to the woman? It's a completely different picture. In the taqwa of Allah, how high is the status of the concept of the consciousness of Allah? You know, from the very beginning of this book, Hudan lil muttaqin. In Surah An-Nisa, what does Allah say? وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ الَّذِي تَسَاءَلُونَ بِهِ وَالْأَرْحَامِ. Have taqwa of Allah and have taqwa of the womb of the mother. Have taqwa of the wombs. It's a different picture. Women are not cursed in this religion.
Yeah, now you know.
The devil is not a serpent, but he does whisper in the ear. And when he whispers, what does Allah say? فَأَزَلَّهُمَا. He caused both of them to slip. He caused both of them to slip. He doesn't say he caused her to slip, she caused him to slip. He says both of them. Who does Allah hold responsible? Both of them. And as a matter of fact, who was the head of the household? Adam alayhi salam. And that's why in some places, Allah Azza wa Jalla holds both of them responsible. And when he does single one out, instead of singling out the woman, who does he single out? فعصى آدم ربه. Adam alayhi salam disobeyed. Even though both of them slipped, Allah Azza wa Jalla holds the head of the household responsible. This story is completely different now. This is not the popular version. From who is held responsible, for what the role on the earth is, then the life on this earth was a curse. And Allah Azza wa Jalla, in this surah and in Surah Al-Araf, he did the same thing. Here he says, هُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ لَكُمْ مَا فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا. He made for you whatever is on the earth. He made it as a gift for you. I kept telling you before also, the one who made the earth as a bedding, and you know, he sent water from the sky, he produced all kinds of fruit. Did he make this world uncomfortable? Does it look like this world is a curse? He made this world literally a preview of heaven. A preview of Jannah. Everything Allah describes in Jannah, I think the audience here knows. Can you tell me some things that are described in Jannah? What's described? You can call it out, it's okay. Gardens, rivers, fruits, drinks, beautiful spouse. Yeah? These are things that are described in Jannah. Why do you think these things are attractive to you? Why would fruit be attractive to you? Or my favorite, لحم طير مما يشتهون, I keep talking about it, the flesh of bird that they shall desire. What kind of barbecue that's going to be? Allahu Adam. But why would that even intrigue me? Because I've had chicken. Because I've had roast duck. Because I've had quail. Because I had pigeon. Yes, I have. It's pretty good. You know, everything Allah describes in Jannah is only attractive to me because I can only imagine it in the sense of what I find in dunya. If Allah talked about some alien pleasures in...
Okay, so I stopped because my brother was bothering me like that, and I will continue from this part tomorrow. Okay, 37 minutes. Okay. God, please no. Like this app really shows too much ads. In every transaction, in every app opening and etc., there is an ad, and I don't like that. Okay, whatever. I will continue that video tomorrow.